past week, we have seen something rather interesting start happening with Republicans. After Mitch McConnell came out last Tuesday and said that what happened on January 6, 2021 was in fact a, quote, violent insurrection, immediately we saw all these other little Republicans popping their heads out to say, oh, no. It wasn't an insurrection, folks. It was just a riot. Basically doing damage control for the Capitol rioters and beyond. I'll get to the and beyond in just a moment, but these Republican senators and lawmakers and prominent media folk have made it clear that you can't call it an insurrection. And again, there's a very valid reason as to why they're afraid to let that language out there. But let me read this. This is what Ted Cruz said in a recent interview with CNN. I think it's a mistake for Republicans to repeat the political propaganda of Democrats and the corporate media. He said on CNN. Okay. You don't really get to talk crap about corporate media if you're going on corporate media to spit out your talking points, by the way. Kind of undermines your message, right? But either way, he wants to make it clear that we cannot adopt the Democrats' language like Mitch McConnell did. So the reason is very simple. There is a world of difference, legally speaking, between an insurrection and a riot, between an insurrection and a violent protest, between an insurrection and literally anything else, because the penalties for engaging in or openly supporting an insurrection here in the United States are quite intense. Even for the Capitol rioters. If they're guilty of participating in an insurrection, then suddenly all the misdemeanor charges that they're facing are out the window, and every single one of them could in fact be charged with felony accounts that, could have dire consequences for them. But more importantly, it's not just about running interference or doing damage control for the Capitol rioters. What's actually happening here is that they're running interference for themselves. Great example is obviously Madison Cawthorn. He is facing expulsion from the ballot in North Carolina for supporting, allegedly, according to the claims, the insurrection. And the big determination that state board of elections has to make before they can even rule on whether or not Cawthorn did support it is, was it an insurrection? Using that language, using the word insurrection, especially among right-wing officials, if that becomes the accepted term, accepted phrase of what happened that day, that absolutely does weigh differently on the courts who have to make the determination of whether it was an insurrection. If everybody says it was, if Democrats say it and Republicans say it, then the courts can very easily say, listen, since it is generally accepted that this, in fact, was an insurrection, we're going to classify it as such. And if they do that, Cawthorn could be barred from the ballot. They're attempting to do the same thing, by the way, in Colorado with Lauren Boebert. So she could be kicked off the ballot. Marjorie Taylor Greene could. Any Republican who spoke at that Stop the Steal rally, which includes Donald Trump, could very easily be kicked off the ballot and, more importantly, barred from ever holding a public office in the United States ever again for all of eternity. So that's why Republicans don't want you to use that word. Because if it becomes the generally accepted term, much like the phrase Band-Aid, referring to an adhesive strip you put over a wound, Band-Aid's a brand name. But they actually cannot sue people for using that brand name as the generic term because it's become accepted as the general term. See? Kind of a similar situation, I guess, right? So by all means, folks, if you want to call it an insurrection, call it an insurrection. Because if it has Republicans freaked out using that word, then it probably means that's the word we should be using. Hey everyone, this is Aspen. And did you know that for the low cost of $0 per day, you can subscribe to the Fair and Balanced YouTube channel, We also encourage you to like, comment, and share. But again, click that subscribe button and help Aspen not be so grumpy.